What is the significance of this shift from Asad Umar to Hafiz Sheikh?
I think I think it's a very important moment for Prime Minister Imran Khan's government because the government is trying to market, and even the opponents of Asad Umar, the opposition, and especially the PTI itself, I mean the government, the Prime Minister's government is trying to market as if it's a purely professional decision, as if the people who were not competent, and maybe the Asad Umar was not competent, he didn't know what he was doing, he was a marketing person, he was not an economist, he was not a finance person, and he had been taking decisions and he took the economy in the wrong direction. But if you look more deeply, whatever happened in the last 72 hours is clearly a political shift. We don't even know as of now what is the identity of Prime Minister Imran Khan's government. You know, this doesn't even look like a PTI government. This looks like that Prime Minister Imran Khan is the face of this government. He's sitting at the top, lonely, all by itself. Now, all the people around him, except for Shah Mahmood Qureshi, which can be described as an old face of the PTI, he's surrounded by an army of advisors and special assistants, unelected people. It is not necessarily the PTI.
But Hafiz Sheikh is an economist with over 30 years of experience. He's worked at the World Bank. He's worked in private equity funds. He has been the former finance minister during Zardari, and during Musharraf's tenure period, he's worked as the finance advisor. You're suggesting, however, that he hasn't been brought for his economics, but rather this is a political shift. What does that mean?
Very true. Very good question. You see, the point is that there's no doubt the Dr. Hafiz Sheikh is a very capable economist. You know, I mean, his expertise is very much, you know, respected and accepted. There's no need to, no one can question his expertise. He has worked in Pakistan, he has worked outside Pakistan, he had worked in the government of Sindh, he was Pakistan's finance minister under Zardari government, he had worked with international monetary institutions, and he was just this moment when he has been appointed as the de facto finance minister, he was working with a private equity firm in New York. But the question is that, has he been brought by Prime Minister Imran Khan? Because Prime Minister Imran Khan had no reason of selecting him or knowing him. There is no familiarity, there's no meetings between them, there has been no real nexus and relationship. And given all his background of international monetary, the fact that he's someone international monetary institutions can trust, people in Washington can like, the impression is this, that he, and the timing, I mean, look, Asad Umar was in an important semi-annual retreat of World Bank and IMF in Washington, and then he signs up a sort of a preliminary agreement with the IMF, and IMF staff team was to visit on 28th April to Pakistan, and all of suddenly Asad Umar is gone. And now we also know from Asad Umar's personal statements and television program that till Wednesday night, till almost 10-11 p.m. he didn't know that the change was coming. He had been making fun of the media reporters when they were asking him questions about it. So he finds out that he's actually being fired and sacked and being replaced only in the night. So, and the people who have seen them together, the Prime Minister Imran Khan and Asad Umar on Wednesday evening, also did not discern any change in Prime Minister's body language. So it looks like as if Dr. Hafiz Sheikh has been recommended from some quarters, either from Washington or within the powerful, you know.
Is that because the IMF didn't want to sign a deal under Asad Umar's leadership?
We don't know. But we have seen this thing that Asad Umar, and Asad Umar was very cautious with IMF. Asad Umar was very resistant to both IMF and FATF. And we know for sure now from the sources of Ministry of Finance that in November, when the dialogue broke down between IMF and Pakistan, at the time the IMF was recommending that Pakistan should accept, among all other stringent conditionalities of raising the taxes and, you know, tariffs almost to 200% on electricity and gas. They were also recommending that rupee should be allowed to adjust around 182 to 184 against the US dollar. And of course, the Asad Umar realized that if they would accept and sign on this dotted line, then there would be serious political repercussions for the government of the Prime Minister Imran Khan. So Asad Umar is definitely a man, we can say, with a reasonable degree of confidence that he was not someone Washington would have liked or international monetary institutions would have liked.
Asad Umar himself said before leaving for Washington that he's about to complete the deal, and that by the end of this month, i.e. April 2019, we should be under an IMF program, or at least we should have signed it by then. So what's changed then? I mean, why did we need someone else to come in and sign the dotted line?
Yeah, look, this is no one really knows the answer. I think no one really knows the definitive answer in black and white, but we can connect the dots and we can speculate, make an educated guess, and we can come to a reasonable conclusion that Asad Umar's sudden sacking has something to do with whatever happened in Washington. Yes, there was in fact a certain kind of climate, a political climate for this change. But now we also know from sources within Islamabad, within the government, that the government was getting reports that all opposition parties, PMLN, PPP, Maulana Fazlur Rahman, were also talking with the jihadi groups, these religious organizations, to launch a very comprehensive street agitation across Punjab, Sindh and KP on Mehengai, on the inflation and price inflation. And this was to take place after Ramadan. So one argument which government apparently, as per our understanding is, will give that, look, this is a new team, there's a new finance minister, new economic team, there is a new information minister. So the whole face of the government has been changed. And these people need to be given time. And now the de facto information minister, the advisor to the Prime Minister Information, Dr. Firdaus Hashikawan, a few hours ago was precisely saying the same thing, that a new team has been put in place. This team needs to be given time. Whatever wrong decisions have taken place, this team is going to take Pakistan out of crisis. So in August and September, in 20th August, there was a PTI team that promised to take Pakistan out of crisis, right? And now there is a new team that is promising to take Prime Minister to the country out of the crisis. So except for the Prime Minister himself, it is almost, if you look at it in a very funny way, we have been hearing of the presidential system, but it looks as if the Prime Minister, Imran Khan, is in the form of a president now, because this is how an American president would change his team, can bring his team. But the American president never makes such abrupt changes. Over here you see 8, 9 changes.
Well, Trump does.
Not 8, 9 people. Has Trump ever changed 8, 9 of his main people suddenly? He has been making 1 or 2 changes in a month, but not as 8 or 9 changes suddenly. So suddenly it's only about the Prime Minister Imran Khan, and everything else has changed.
No, but apart from changing faces and face in this particular case of the finance minister, if Hafiz Sheikh has to sign the IMF deal, he still has to increase gas prices, electricity prices. He has to let the foreign exchange currency to some extent be allowed for the market to actually help it along. So there's not many other decisions that he can take which will be populist decisions. So if there is a street march coming on the streets, how will Hafiz Sheikh being present help the government?
Will be very interesting to see that will Dr. Hafiz Sheikh, who is a very astute economist and who is also on record saying a few hours ago that his decisions will not be based on emotions but on logic, will he be continuing the very painful structural correction which Asad Umar had been trying to do for the past 8 months, as a result of which Pakistan's trade imbalance and fiscal deficit had been reduced from $1.8 billion a month to literally between 400 to 500 million. In the month of February, it almost came down to $150 million. But on average, it's between 400 to 500 million dollars. Or will he be taking certain populist measures to support a troubled Imran Khan government, which is moving into the thick of summers, and it is expected that there can be significant load sheddings, because the government will probably not have enough money to pay the independent power producers. So you come the month of Ramadan, the summers, the load sheddings. Will Hafiz Sheikh be taking tough decisions in the name of logic and non-emotion, or he will be taking certain kind of populist decisions? But see, you have to see that if Dr. Hafiz Sheikh brings a certain degree of confidence from the international monetary institutions and Washington, then maybe he will have greater leverage in taking certain popular decisions, and the support of the international community will stand with him. There is also a thesis going on, and it's right time to understand this, that within Pakistan's power centers, within the government